There are different opportunities for casters than when we started out. When we started out, I mean, to be fair, it was at the very beginning when tournament organizers didn't care about their streams. CSGO wasn't bringing in enough viewership for them to care and start investing money in it. And so they did just leave the Go TVs open. And if you had a stream and you had the time, you could just cast a game. And then if people watched, they watched. Great. If they didn't, maybe you do something else. But that path now really, I mean, there are like more paths. For example, like Bach over in North America. I did a show with him about the Mountain Dew League not too long ago, right? And he's a guy who was trying to make his break come up through it. What happened now for him? He's not doing tier 1 events, but he is doing Mountain Dew League full time, and that's paying him a full-time salary. We would have never had that when we were started. That was like an impossibility. You just, unless you went to work for ESL or something along those lines, you really didn't have that option to make a salary casting a tier 2 event, a tier 2 league, right? So on the one side, there are more opportunities out there for commentators to do small paid gigs that we would have never had, that we would have done for free, or right, but now it's like, hey, I'm gonna go and do this sponsored league that's sponsored by X. Oh yeah, here's like $200 for casting for that day. It's like, we used to make that for LANs, you know what I mean? Like, you'd be a LAN day, 16 hours a day work, and like you get your $200 in cash, So like now there are, it's different, right? It's like, I think it's harder. It's very much about timing in commentary. It's about being the first in on the ground floor. And if you're on the ground floor, then you can maintain that momentum, and the momentum generates more attention and more viewership and more, popularity. Because you manage to push that, and if you stay active, which is exactly what you have to do if you're a commentator at the very beginning, and if you're starting out now, if you're starting out then, it's the same thing. It's all about a grind. And Sato was very frank recently with his interviews. He did an interview recently, I can't remember for which source, but he was talking about Anders and I gave it a read just to see. But he was absolutely right. He wasn't better than us, but he could outwork us. And that's exactly it. He could outwork us because I had responsibilities back in Stockholm. Anders had a kid. He had a wife. We couldn't go off and do all of the leagues and be gone 6 months at a time anymore because it just wasn't possible. Things had changed for us. There was a time when that was possible at the very beginning, and we outworked everybody else, and we just said yes to every event, and we were on the road perpetually. But then priorities start to change a little bit. You get a little bit more comfortable because, hey, you're actually making money now. You don't need to do every event. It's not like you're struggling to pay your bills, and so priorities change. Sato and Henry, though, what they could do is, because they had nothing holding them down, they could be on the road for 6 months and do every event. And so that was how they managed to make it work. I think that's still a possibility for anybody out there, but it's going to be very tough to shake the tier 1. I don't think that it is possible to dethrone any of the tier 1 commentators right now, just because of politics, security. Face it, for example, DDK and Bardolph are going nowhere. They have job security there. ESL, if you partner up with ESL, then you have all of ESL's events. Anders and I used to have that position. We gave it up to favor Turner because we couldn't do Turner and ESL at the same time. So Sato and Henry took over ESL, and then lo and behold, they get all the ESL events. So it's all about political jockeying and figuring out what your timing is and how to get in there with a tournament organizer, because once you have a tournament organizer backing you, then you're in a pretty sweet spot because you have security and you have guaranteed exposure in events. And then perhaps, barring the politics between the TOs screwing you out of jobs, then perhaps, that exposure gets you other gigs, right? But it's always layers on layers with commentators. It's like you talk about strats in game in CSGO, talk about strats as a commentator. There's a whole different game there. So, I don't want to say this to discourage any new commentators, because I definitely think that there is a space. There's more space than there ever has been because there is more opportunity for paid work. But if you feel like your goal is to cast the major, you're going to have a long road ahead of you. But maybe that's what you want. Maybe you want to grind. Maybe you want to be honest with yourself and say, this is my dream. This is what I want to do with my time, and I don't see it as wasted time. Well, then that's the mentality that you need to have, because it's not going to be overnight that you're just going to, start getting invited to ESLs.
For more CSGO interviews and analysis, subscribe to our channel. You can also find stats, discussions, and more on our website and mobile app at blitzesports.com.